So for our first basic lesson, we're going to learn how to hold the base. I have one right down here, but before I stand it up, I want you to take a look at something on the bottom here. So right here we have this metal rod, and this is called the end pin. And the base stands on this rod, but it is adjustable. I can turn the screw right here, and then I'm able to slide it in and out. And that helps us size the base to the bass player. So we're gonna first want to make sure we get that to a proper height. Now the only way to check to see if you have your end pin at the proper height is to stand the bass up. So let me go ahead and stand this bass up here. Okay. Takes a lot of muscle to play this thing and to just carry it around. To make sure your bass is at the proper height, you need to run a check. In order to run this check, we need to make sure that the bass is leaning against us. So right now I have the bass standing upright, but I'm gonna let it lean against my body, just like this. This is how we're gonna hold it. The first check to make sure the bass is at the proper height is this part right here. If you'll take a look at, here, let me adjust this camera right here. If you'll take a look right here, we have this piece of the bass called the nut. Right here is this dark wood for the fingerboard, and up here is this piece of wood that's also dark, and the strings are just bending over that. So take a close look right there. So this is the nut, and when the bass is at the proper height, we want this nut to be aligned with our eyebrow. As you can see right there, it lines up very well with my eyebrow there. So that tells us that the bass is at the proper height for us to play. Now, as I mentioned, the bass does need to lean into us, but we also need to be leaning into the bass. In order to accomplish that, there's a proper stance we have to do. So I'm gonna turn this camera down here because in order to have the proper stance, we need to have one foot in front of the other, specifically the foot that is closer to the bass. So you can think of it as like a runner's pose, but it's not gonna be that far in front of it. See, that's really only just one step ahead of my right foot there. Now, with my foot stepped forward, I'm gonna lean forward and I'm gonna lean the bass into me. Now, I mentioned there are other points of reference to make sure the bass is at the proper height. One point is that you wanna make sure this corner, if you look at that screen there, that this corner of the bass is right against the knee here. So it's just gonna rest right in front of my knee, and that's gonna be very important, not just to check that it's proper height, but sometimes I need to pivot the bass, and by just bending my knee forward, I get that pivot action that I want. Another point of reference is for this curved part of the bass right here. You want that to be right here at your side, right on your hip there. So let's review. If your bass is at the proper height, then this corner will be lined up with your knee. This curve here will be resting right against your side or your hip. And then the nut will be aligned with your eyebrow. Let me turn this back up so you can see that. If you have all three of those points lined up, you should be holding the bass correctly, and you should be able to hold it hands-free.